Welcome to Series 3, Episode 8 of the In Her Financial Shoes podcast. Welcome to the In Her Financial Shoes podcast with me, Catherine Morgan, founder of The Money Panel, helping you learn the small behavioural and practical steps to take towards being financially resilient. Listen in each week where we talk about that taboo subject of money. Listen to real life stories, step into our guest shoes and be left feeling 100% confident and in control. Oh, and we hate financial jargon, so don't expect any here. Small steps, big wins, let's go. Hi everybody and welcome back to the podcast. So first of all, just wanted to say a massive hello to all my regular listeners and just to say a massive thank you to all the support that we've been getting on the podcast recently. I've just been looking at some of the downloads numbers actually for the podcast and just doing a quick sort of recce on the figures. We've actually increased our listener volumes by 1,200% since we launched at the end of January. So I just wanted to say a massive, massive thank you for everybody who's listening to this. Either maybe this is the first time you've come across the podcast or as regular listeners, I really just want to say a massive thank you for all of your support. Now I've just come back from a lovely 7-day break away with the family, with the kids, over in Rhodes in Greece. Literally just flew in last night actually. And one of the things that I was thinking about whilst I was away is how often I have conversations about our inability to make decisions around money. Now, from the people that I've been speaking to most recently, what seems to be a really common sort of barrier or challenge that gets in the way of us making decisions is this idea and concept that we're going to make a bad decision or that it's like one giant decision that we have to make. So for example, where do I invest my money? Or how do I know that I'm getting the best return? Or how do I manage my money most effectively? So what happens is we put ourselves under quite a lot of pressure about making one mammoth decision. And we fear that if we don't make that one decision, that almost like it's better not to make a decision at all, because to even make that decision is just too much. It's too much pressure on ourselves, so we don't make it. And so what I wanted to do was just to record a very short podcast interview today with myself and you, just to talk through some of the steps that I would recommend for you to improve how you make financial decisions. Are you ready? Tip number 1. When you're making financial decisions, take baby steps. So any decision that we make around money is not one kind of decision in isolation. It's not that one decision that you make is going to have a massive impact on the rest of your life. I mean, sure, there are going to be some important decisions that you need to make around money, depending on the life stage that you're in. So for example, if you're just coming up to retirement and your decision is do I retire now or do I retire next year, then sure, that's an important decision to be making. But actually, if we break those kind of decisions down, there's often more than just one decision to be made. So when you're trying to make any decision about money, think about breaking down that particular question into a series of decisions. It's almost like a muscle that you're trying to train. You're trying to train how you make financial decisions. You're trying to build up that muscle so that the more decisions that you make, the more you're going to strengthen that decision muscle and the easier it will become for you to make any decisions at all. So tip number 1 is to take baby steps, not about one decision in isolation, but break that decision down into smaller, more easier to answer decisions perhaps. So if that question is, do I retire this year? Break that down into some smaller questions. So one of those questions might be, well, what kind of things do I want to be doing when I retire? What does my financial situation look like at the moment? Have a look at the numbers. What's stressing me in my life right now? Do I want to get rid of that this year, or can I survive in it for another 12 months? So breaking it down into some smaller questions can really help. Tip number 2, get yourself an accountability partner to sense check any decision. So if you're the sort of person that procrastinates with making decisions because you find it difficult, often this will be to do with an emotion that sits behind that decision. Now, often that emotion could be guilt or fear or shame or anxiety, but by getting yourself an accountability partner to sense check that decision can really help you to kind of stop staying stuck in that decision, and maybe will be able to help you to weigh out the pros and cons perhaps, or to look at the advantages and disadvantages, or to maybe give you another scenario that you've not even thought about. So get yourself an accountability partner to sense check. This is something that's worked really well in the Money Circle membership that we launched recently. And if you're listening to this on the podcast this week, we've actually just opened the doors to the Money Circle again. So if you're looking for an accountability partner, have a think about whether you want that to be somebody close to you, or whether you want that to be somebody perhaps in a similar situation or maybe a few steps ahead of you. And getting yourself an accountability partner is really super valuable, just to give you that sense check. Tip number 3 is to set a decision date. Now, this has worked really well for me. I've had so many decisions to make this year around my business. And I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast episode and you're an entrepreneur yourself, you'll completely understand that we have to make decisions every single day in our business. Otherwise, we just stay stuck. And one of the actions that I have implemented that's really helped me is to set a decision date. So if I've got a particularly important decision to make, or one that's maybe creating me overwhelm, and I've left it on my to-do list and it's sat there for a week and it's sat there for another week, and I've just done all the other tasks on my to-do list because they're easy to do, and I've ignored this one great big decision that I have to make, then set yourself a decision date. Give yourself some time frame around when that decision has to be made. Tip number 4 is to let go of perfectionism. Now, often we read articles about how perfectionism is like our worst enemy. It's that inner critic coming out and setting really high standards and expectations for ourselves. Actually, I think that perfectionism has some really good merits and strengths. I would definitely describe myself as a perfectionist. And whilst I know that it holds me back in many ways, it also enables me in many ways. I often talk about the fact that when we have pain in our lives, or difficulties or struggles or life challenges or experiences and things that have happened in the past, yes, they can have a huge impact on us, on our self-worth and our self-belief, but we can also turn that fear and that pain into arming us to be better, to do better, to help more people. And often that can demonstrate itself in the fact that we can often throw ourselves into, these ideal expectations or these scenarios where we think that we have to make every decision is major, and and this can put a lot of kind of stress on our lives. But I do think that perfectionism in itself isn't necessarily a negative. So it's about letting go of perfectionism, but looking at how does it help you to move forward. If being a perfectionist drives you, then that's great. That's a great strength to have. But how does it also prevent you from taking action? How does it prevent you from making decisions? So anytime you feel in a position of overwhelm, or you feel that element of perfectionism is holding you back, think about the decision you're trying to make. Does it help you move forward? Will it give you results? Will it bring you return on investment? Will it bring you happiness? Will it do good to help others? Will it serve your ultimate goals and things that you want to achieve? Tip number 6 is to reduce your choices. So often when we get into this trying to make this decision mode, overwhelm can be huge. And if that decision is felt to be too big, we just bury our heads in the sand and we don't make any decisions at all. If you think about it, any decision that we have to make has 4 potential outcomes. Either we say yes to the decision, we say no to it, we say, actually, we could do this or this, so we come up with an alternative solution, or neither. So tip number 6 is to reduce your choices. So when I get into any situation where I'm feeling overwhelmed, one of the things that I always try and reflect on and bring my mind back to is that anytime you're trying to make a decision about anything, whether it's money related or not, there's always 4 potential outcomes. Either you say yes to that decision, that you say no to that decision, that neither yes or no is the right decision, or both. There's always 4 potential outcomes. So when you think of the decision that there's 4 potential outcomes, that to me makes it much easier for me to make a decision about, yes, I'm going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. I could maybe do one of those options, or neither of those options is a good thing to do. And when I think of it from that perspective, it makes it far easier for me to make a decision. So think about that for yourself. Reduce your choices. If you're trying to make a decision about who to move your mortgage to, then there's never like the perfect answer. Seek help from a mortgage broker, for example. Ask a question with your accountability partner. If you're trying to make decisions about where do you invest, for example, maybe you've listened to series 2 of the podcast and you're thinking, well, now I understand how to invest. Who do I actually invest with? Narrow your choices down, reduce your choices, and it will help you to make better decisions quicker. So follow those 5 top tips, and I hope that will help you to improve how you make decisions. So take baby steps. It's not about one decision in isolation. Get an accountability partner for a sense check. Set yourself a decision date and stick to it. Let go of perfectionism. Reduce your choices and think about the emotions, whether you're stuck in fear of present, judgment of your past, or anxiety over the future. Now, just in case you haven't seen across our social media channels this week, we have actually just opened up our infamous low-cost Money Circle membership for the 2nd time this year. So if you're looking to get in control and gain some more confidence around money, to join into some money conversations and bring them out of the closet and have a money coach in your pocket, then this is your opportunity to join the Circle. The Circle itself, you have access to weekly live Q&A sessions with me in Facebook. We also do a 30-day financial goal setting exercise. We have regular meetups throughout the year. We also have guest experts coming in talking about all sorts of different conversations about financial well-being. And each month you have delivered to you a money success kit, which is not an overwhelming piece of content or stuff that's going to take you hours and hours of time, but it's just to help to move you one step closer towards your financial intentions and goals. So last month, to give you an example, we did a couple of mini videos around pensions and provided a pension transfer consolidation checklist for those people that were looking to explore whether to consolidate some of their existing pensions. The month before that, we did some training around financial organisation and how to organise your finances using Trello boards. We've got a guest expert coming up next month who's going to be talking to us about how to price your services if you're running a business, and much, much more to come later this year. We also announce a monthly Moments Awards winner each month in the Circle. And this is really important to me because one of the things that I found frustrating about being in memberships is the accountability. So one of the kind of key values that we hold in the Circle is around trust, building friendships, making connections, and actually recognising the support that you give to one another in the Circle. So last month, we had a lady called Amanda who won the Money Moments Awards, and we posted out to her a gorgeous candle that she was able to burn and enjoy for some self-care time. So if you haven't joined the Circle or you haven't heard about it, please come over to the website catherinemorgan.com, where you'll find some information about joining the Money Circle. I'll drop in a link as well to the podcast show notes and also into the blog where you can go over and grab that. The doors will only be open for a week, so please make sure that you go and join right away. Otherwise, the doors will close and you'll miss out joining for the rest of this year. But thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and I look forward to speaking to you again next week. You've been listening to Catherine Morgan's In Her Financial Shoes podcast. If you enjoyed this show, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes. And don't forget, if you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed and want to learn more about being financially resilient, confident and in control, head over to www.catherinemorgan.com.